Most people think they're lazy. They beat themselves up, call themselves undisciplined, and carry the weight of guilt like it's part of their identity. But what if I told you, you're not lazy, you're just untrained. You've been lied to by your own mind. And the biggest lie it tells you is this: do it later. Later is a thief. It steals the one thing you can never get back: time. But worse than that, it steals belief. Every time you delay something important, something meaningful, something difficult, you're not just pushing it to tomorrow. You're quietly telling your mind, this isn't urgent. I don't need to win today. I can survive, even if I don't evolve. You think you're being strategic when you delay. You think you're preserving energy or waiting for a better time. But the truth is simpler and more brutal. You're afraid. Afraid of pressure. Afraid of failing. Afraid of facing the real work. So your mind does what it's trained to do. It protects you. It gives you the perfect excuse. Do it later. But here's what you need to understand. Procrastination isn't just a bad habit. It's mental resistance left unchallenged. It's not the result of laziness. It's the result of a mind that's never been taught to act with urgency. And urgency is not about rushing. It's about recognizing that your future depends on what you choose right now. If your house was on fire, would you wait to respond? If your loved one was in danger, would you check your notifications first? Number, you'd act with primal clarity and immediate precision. Why? Because the stakes are clear. The urgency is obvious. But here's the truth. Your future is always on fire. Your dreams are always at risk. Your time is always running out. The only reason we don't act like it is because we forget. Or worse, we pretend not to see it. You train your body by showing up to the gym. You train your skills by practicing repetition. But you train your mind by refusing to give it exits. No more, I'll start Monday. No more after this week. No more when I feel like it. These are exits, escape routes, mental loopholes that allow your potential to stay caged. If you truly want to evolve, not just improve a little, but transform who you are, then urgency must become your default setting. You must approach each task, each day, each decision with the mindset: there is no later. There is only now, and I will not let this moment escape. When you do this consistently, your mind starts to shift. It stops waiting to feel ready. It stops negotiating with comfort. It stops offering you exits, because now it knows you're the kind of person who shows up every time, no matter what. And that's when things begin to change, not just in your actions, but in your identity. You go from being the person who talks about change to the one who becomes it. So the next time your mind whispers, let's do it later, stand your ground. Look it dead in the eye and say, there is no later. There's only this moment, and I'm not wasting it. Because when you stop giving your mind exits, you stop living at the mercy of your excuses, and you start becoming who you were meant to be. There are two voices living inside your mind. One is a whisper, soft, persuasive, familiar. The other is a command, firm, focused, unrelenting. One is the voice of comfort. The other is the voice of power. And every single day and every single decision, you are choosing which one to obey. The weak voice is easy to listen to. It tells you what you want to hear. You've done enough today. Take a break. You deserve to relax. It cradles your fears, protects your comfort, and gently nudges you away from challenge. But what it's really doing is keeping you in place, feeding you softness while silently stealing your edge. The strong voice, on the other hand, doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired, uncertain, or unmotivated. It tells you the truth. It says, get up. Show up. You said you would, so do it. It speaks with clarity. It speaks with force. And it speaks for the version of you that's buried underneath the distractions, the fear, and the endless need for validation. This is not a poetic metaphor. This is the real inner war. And here's the most important truth of all. You cannot serve both voices. One must be starved. You train your mind by choosing who gets fed. Every time you delay, you feed the weak voice. Every time you complain, you feed the weak voice. Every time you scroll for approval instead of doing the work, you feed the weak voice. And the more you feed it, the louder it becomes, until eventually it sounds like your identity. But if you want to break free, If you want to train your mind into a weapon of clarity and discipline, then you must starve the weak voice. Silence it, interrupt it, ignore it. Not with hate, but with hunger. Because the strong voice will never get louder if you don't create space for it to lead. The strong voice lives in resistance. It grows in discomfort. It sharpens when you do what you said you would do, especially when you don't feel like it. It's the voice that tells you to write when your hands are trembling, to work out when your muscles ache, to show up with intensity even when no one is watching. That's training. That's rewiring. That's becoming dangerous. And here's the shift. The strong voice isn't loud at first. It's barely noticeable. It's a flicker, a spark, a moment of courage that shows up when you're tempted to hide. But every time you choose it over comfort, every time you obey discipline instead of weakness, it gets stronger. It becomes your default setting, and one day it becomes your identity. Your mind is not broken. It's just undecided. It's waiting to see who you'll follow. And that decision, that daily, relentless choice, is what shapes your destiny. Because your life is not shaped by what you dream about. It's shaped by the voice you obey most. If you listen to the voice of fear, you'll live a small life. If you listen to the voice of ease, you'll live a forgettable one. But if you train yourself to listen to the voice of power, to act before you're ready, to speak before you're confident, to rise before you're comfortable, you will become unstoppable. So ask yourself today, which voice did I feed, and which one will I feed tomorrow? Because the one you nourish becomes the one you become. Your mind is not a garbage bin. It is a throne, a sacred space where your thoughts, beliefs, and identity are formed. But most people treat it like it's open to anything and everything. They scroll endlessly, absorb meaninglessly, listen carelessly, and wonder why they feel anxious, unfocused, and powerless. Here's the truth no one wants to hear. You are what your mind consumes. Just like your body becomes what you eat, your thoughts become what you feed them. If you consume gossip, you think small. If you consume fear-based news, you feel helpless. If you consume mindless entertainment all day, you train your brain to escape reality instead of dominate it. And over time, you lose clarity, not because you're broken, but because you've been contaminated. Your attention is your most valuable asset. It's the currency of growth. And just like a soldier guards the gates of a kingdom from threats, you must guard your mind from noise. Because the enemy doesn't always kick down the door. Sometimes it sneaks in as a harmless scroll, a casual post, a just 5 minutes distraction. And without realizing it, your focus is gone, your standards are lowered, and your time gone forever. This is how most people lose the battle, not through some dramatic failure, but through slow, daily erosion. One careless click at a time, one unfiltered opinion at a time, one shallow conversation at a time. If you want to train your mind like it's your last chance, you must learn the art of mental fasting. That means cutting off the junk that pollutes your thinking. Social media isn't evil, but most people don't use it. They get used by it. Every scroll becomes a comparison. Every reel becomes an escape. Every comment becomes a distraction. And the worst part is, it feels normal. But greatness doesn't live in what's normal. It lives in what's intentional. If you want to be sharp, feed your mind content that demands growth. Books that stretch you, conversations that challenge you, silence that centers you. Surround yourself with ambition, truth, discipline, not comfort, drama, and noise. Your environment is more than the room you're in. It's the ideas you're around, the voices you allow, and the energy you accept. If all you hear is sarcasm, mediocrity, and surface-level nonsense, your mind will never reach depth. It will never be trained to lead. And leaders aren't built in chaos. They're built in clarity. So take inventory. What's been getting through your gates lately? Who's been influencing your thoughts? What kind of content lives on your feed? What conversations fill your days? You don't just need to change your habits, you need to protect your input. Because if you don't control what enters, you'll never control what you become. You were not born to live with a mind full of clutter. You were born to build something with it. But if the foundation is poisoned, the structure will always be weak. So treat your attention like a sacred flame. Feed it with precision. Train it with discipline. Guard it like your future depends on it. Because it does. Guard your gates. You are what gets through. Discipline doesn't show up in the moment of crisis. That's where it's revealed, not where it's built. You don't develop mental strength in chaos. You don't suddenly become focused in the middle of temptation. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your training. And that training, it happens in the quiet, in the ordinary. In the daily moments no one applauds. Discipline is built in ritual. Every morning you wake up and decide how to engage with the day, whether consciously or not. You either stumble into it or you step into it. But if you're serious about training your mind like it's your last chance, then stumbling is not an option. You need rituals, not routines. Rituals. Routines are mechanical, things you do because you have to. Rituals are intentional, things you do because you choose to. A ritual is not just action, it's declaration. It's a promise to the higher version of yourself that says, I'm showing up, I'm locked in, I'm not wasting today. Your morning ritual sets your mental tone. It says to your mind, we're not living reactive. We're not waiting to feel inspired. We lead. Whether it's meditation, journaling, movement, reading, or a cold shower, it's not about the act itself. It's about what the act trains into your mind, ownership. Then come your focus hours, blocks of time where you create, build, learn, or refine. These are not optional. They're sacred, because every moment you spend in deep work is a moment you're sharpening the blade of your mind. Most people let their day bleed away through noise and distraction. You put structure where others live by chance. Then there's daily reflection, the audit. No growth survives without awareness. This is where you ask, did I obey the strong voice today? Where did I give in to comfort? What needs to be better tomorrow? This isn't just checking boxes. This is mental gym time. This is you doing the reps when no one's watching. This is you showing your mind who's in charge. And every time you do it, every time you keep your ritual, your identity shifts. You go from someone trying to change to someone who lives aligned. You stop chasing discipline and start becoming it. You stop being surprised by your progress and start expecting it. Why? Because now you're not guessing. You're training. You're becoming. That's the hidden power of rituals. They build a quiet armor around your mind so that when life hits, and it will, you don't break, you don't panic, you don't spiral, because you've been preparing. You've been sharpening your edge in silence. Understand this. You will always have rituals. The only question is, do you choose them or do they choose you? Scrolling can become a ritual. Complaining can become a ritual. Chaos can become a ritual. But none of those serve you. Only conscious rituals lead to conscious transformation. So build them like your life depends on it, because your future self is counting on today's pattern. And you don't rise to the moment. You return to the level of what you've built. Rituals are not routines. They are sacred contracts with your higher self. Sign them daily, with action, with focus, with fire. Pain has always been misunderstood. We're taught to fear it, to run from it, to numb it. Somewhere along the way, the world convinced us that pain is a punishment, something to avoid at all costs. But here's the truth, and it's one most people never discover. Pain is not punishment. Pain is precision training. If you look at the lives of the strongest people, the warriors of discipline, the champions of clarity, the builders of legacies, you'll find something in common. They didn't run from pain. They studied it, they sat with it, and they let it sharpen them into something unshakable. Pain is the professor most people never listen to. Why? Because its lessons aren't written in ink. They're written in blood, in sweat, in long nights, aching hearts, and quiet battles when no one's watching. But those lessons, they're priceless, because they don't just teach you what you're made of, they reveal it. Every challenge, every setback, every rejection is showing you where your edge lives. It's mapping out the exact places your mind gives up. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. That's the feedback you've been begging for. Most people ask, why is this happening to me? The trained mind asks, what is this trying to build in me? Pain doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to expose the parts of you that are soft, so you can make them steel. It's not there to crush your spirit. It's there to test your commitment, to ask, do you really want this? Are you willing to evolve for it? Will you walk through this fire to become who you say you are? Because pain is a forge, and it's in the fire where warriors are made. If you avoid pain, you avoid growth. If you retreat every time it gets uncomfortable, you train your mind to equate difficulty with danger, and that is fatal for your potential. The mind must learn that discomfort is not a threat. It is the path. Every time you lean into resistance instead of away from it, you wire resilience. Every time you choose the hard rep, the hard truth, the hard decision, you build a mental toughness that can't be faked. That kind of strength doesn't come from winning. It comes from not quitting. Your mind is not fragile. It is fierce if you let it be trained. And training doesn't happen in your comfort zone. Comfort creates complacency. But pain builds power. Pain chisels the identity you claim you want. So when the pain shows up, good. That means the process is working. That means you're touching a limit. And if you can stay with it, if you can breathe through it, think through it, grow through it, you'll move that limit. And when you do that enough times, you become someone even you don't recognize anymore. Someone you once thought was impossible. But here's the thing. You can't fake this. You can't intellectualize your way around pain. You must walk into it with open eyes and a steady heart, knowing this is the test, and you're built to pass it. So the next time it hurts, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, don't retreat, don't distract, don't collapse. Train your mind to stand still in the fire and say, this is where I learn. This is where I rise. This is where I become unbreakable. Because in the end, it's not success that makes you strong. It's the pain you survive to earn it. And always remember, pain trains you in ways comfort never will. Mental strength isn't about waiting to feel ready. It's about creating systems that make you ready. High performers, elite athletes, world-class thinkers, they don't rely on emotion to drive them. They don't hope for motivation. They engineer their mindset. They build triggers that flip the switch from ordinary to focused, from scattered to locked in, from distracted to dangerous. Because here's the truth. The mind responds to environment, rhythm, repetition. And when you understand that, you stop waiting for inspiration. You start building activation. Mental triggers are tools of the trained. They are psychological switches, built intentionally, used repeatedly, to condition your brain to enter a state of clarity, discipline, or power on demand. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. You're training your nervous system to associate certain inputs, sounds, movement, sensations, words, with a state of performance. Let me give you an example. You create a morning playlist that you only use when you journal, meditate, or create. Eventually, that playlist becomes more than sound. It becomes a signal. Your mind hears the first note, and it knows, time to focus, time to lead. Or maybe before you speak, write, or build, you take 3 deep, aggressive breaths. You pound your chest. You smile like a warrior. Not because you feel confident, but because you're sending the message. We're stepping into our higher state now. Or maybe you light a specific candle. You smell a certain oil. You wear the same jacket when you go into deep work. You build anchors, on purpose, that connect physical reality to mental elevation. This isn't performance art. This is performance science. You are teaching your mind to respond on command. You are creating ritual that flips identity. The untrained wait to feel good before they act. The trained act, and that action creates the feeling. And once you understand this, you become unstoppable. Because now, motivation becomes irrelevant. You don't need to feel inspired to show up. You just need to fire the right trigger. Think of it like a light switch. You don't sit in the dark and wait for the light to appear. You flip the switch. Simple. Director, reliable. That's what your performance routine must become. Because the longer you wait to feel ready, the more power you give away. The more you hesitate, the more time you lose. And in the end, mastery doesn't come from feeling ready. It comes from being trained to act anyway. So build your arsenal of triggers. A phrase you say out loud that wakes your inner warrior. A cold splash of water that shocks you into presence. A movement, a breath, a rhythm that commands attention. And repeat it, daily, obsessively, until your mind begins to obey. You're not trying to be productive. You're trying to be primed. You're not trying to feel motivated. You're trying to be wired. You're not trying to find the zone. You create it. You become your best not by waiting for alignment, but by building it. Don't wait to feel ready. Train yourself to flip the switch. And once you do that enough, the switch becomes you. Most people think discipline is something you use when life gets hard, something you apply when you're desperate or driven or inspired. But that's not how true discipline works. Real discipline isn't something you activate, it's something you become. When your life is built on emotion, you wait to act. You wait until you feel good, until things are convenient, until motivation knocks on your door and begs you to get started. But when your life is built on discipline, you don't wait. You don't ask. You don't debate. You execute. Because here's the truth. The most powerful version of you doesn't need to be pushed, because showing up is who they are. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself every day. That's beginner level. That's what people do when they're trying to escape bad habits or build a new one. They fight themselves, push themselves, wrestle with their resistance. But that's not mastery. Mastery is when the discipline becomes the default. No more internal negotiations. No more wondering if you'll do it. It's built in, just like brushing your teeth, getting dressed, locking the door. You don't hype yourself up to brush your teeth. You don't need inspiration to tie your shoes. You just do it. Why? Because it's wired into your identity. You've done it so often that it feels unnatural not to. That's what your discipline must become. Want to train your mind like it's your last chance? Then stop treating discipline like a temporary hack and start living like it's who you are. Because here's the secret. Your mind follows your identity. If you think you're someone who's trying to be disciplined, then you'll always need effort, struggle, and motivation to take action. But the moment you shift your identity, the moment you say, I am a builder, I am someone who executes, I am someone who does the work no matter how I feel, everything changes, and now your behavior aligns. Now your mind obeys. Now your habits reinforce the identity instead of competing with it. The greats don't rely on emotion, they rely on systems. They have time blocks, they have commitments, they have rituals and reps and rules, and they follow them. Not because they're robots, but because they understand something most people never grasp. Freedom doesn't come from feeling like it. Freedom comes from doing it even when you don't. Every time you show up, tired, uninspired, overwhelmed, and you still do the thing, you send a message to your brain, this is who I am now. And the more you do that, the less resistance you feel, because the mind starts to trust you. It stops questioning, it stops fighting, it stops delaying. Why? Because now discipline isn't something you force, it's something you flow with. And here's the final piece. The world doesn't reward you for your potential. It rewards you for your standards. And your standards are revealed in your daily habits, not in what you say, not in what you plan, but in what you do without needing a reason. So build your discipline until it becomes your default. Make showing up automatic. Make consistency sacred. Make action inevitable. And then when the world is confused how you get so much done, how you rise so quickly, how you became unshakable, you'll know the truth. You didn't wait to feel like it. You trained your identity until it became inevitable. And now discipline is no longer what you do, it's who you are. You go to the gym to build your body. You eat clean to fuel your system. You sleep to recover. But here's the question no one is asking. When was the last time you trained your mind on purpose, not just read something inspiring, not just thought positive thoughts? I mean real training, structured, intentional, repetitive. Because here's the truth, your mind is a muscle. And like any muscle, if you don't train it, it weakens. Everyone wants results, confidence, focus, resilience. But most are too busy chasing external hacks and shortcuts to build the one thing that drives it all, mental strength. The gym is filled with people doing physical reps, lifting weight, running, grinding. But the battlefield of life is mental, and if your inner world is soft, no outer strength will save you. So what are mental reps? They're the daily disciplines that sharpen your attention, stretch your thoughts, and harden your resolve. Journaling, not for decoration, but to dig deep, to ask, where did I show up weak today? Where did I rise? What patterns are sabotaging me? Visualization, not vague daydreaming, but mental rehearsal. Seeing yourself perform at your peak with clarity, urgency, and composure. Elite athletes use it. Fighters use it. CEOs use it. Because if your mind can't imagine winning, your body won't execute it. Meditation. Not just to relax, but to build awareness. to sit in silence, face your chaos, and learn to observe without reacting. Every breath, every moment of stillness, that's a rep. A rep in calming the storm instead of being controlled by it. Self-talk, that voice in your head, that's the coach you hear most. If you don't train it, it trains you, and usually not in the way you want. Your internal language must be lifted, shaped, and sharpened like a weapon. Every time you correct your thoughts, from I can't to I will, from I don't know to I'll figure it out, that's a rep. These reps, they don't show up on a scale. You won't post them on Instagram. No one applauds them, but they change everything. Because when the pressure hits, when the fear rises, when the chaos floods your life, it won't be your muscles that save you. It'll be your mind. And this isn't about perfection, it's about practice. Mental toughness isn't a trait, it's a result. The result of daily, invisible work that most people skip because they're too distracted, too rushed, too focused on the surface. But not you. If you want to train your mind like it's your last chance, then every day you must show up and put in the reps. Not for the world, for you. Because when it's game time, when life tests you, when goals feel distant, when failure knocks hard, you won't rise because you're talented. You'll rise because you're trained. So journal until your thoughts obey you. Visualize until your mind believes you. Meditate until your chaos bows to you. Speak to yourself like you're already the version you're becoming. And remember, mental reps are invisible until they're undeniable. Do the inner work now. So when the pressure hits later, you don't break, you lead. There's a simple rule in transformation that most people ignore. Your environment will beat your intention every single time. You can have the best goals. You can write down your affirmations. You can build rituals, recite mantras, do the inner work. But if you surround yourself with people who mock growth, who laugh at discipline, who chase comfort, who live small and think smaller, then you're trying to build a fire in the middle of a storm, and even the strongest flame will go out. This is why training your mind requires more than just personal willpower. It requires strategic association, because who you're around is what you'll become. You might think your habits are yours, but most of your patterns, how you speak, how you think, what you tolerate, they're borrowed from the people you spend time with. That's the silent force of your circle. It doesn't yell, it normalizes. And whatever becomes normal in your environment becomes expected in your mind. So here's the question. What's the mental standard of your environment? Are you around people who challenge weakness in you, or people who enable it? Are you surrounded by builders, doers, warriors, or excuse makers, comfort seekers, and drama chasers? Because the truth is, your circle is either pulling you forward or pulling you under. There is no neutral. You cannot train your mind in an environment that trains it to stay small. You cannot develop high performance in a low-frequency atmosphere. You cannot live with power while breathing in mediocrity. If your people flinch when you talk about goals, if they get uncomfortable when you talk about discipline, if they feel attacked when you say no to wasting time, they're not your tribe, they're your cage. Mental warriors surround themselves with sharpeners. People who live by standards, people who don't flinch at the word work, people who see pain and say, let's go through it together. Find the ones who get excited by growth, the ones who don't let you complain without a solution, the ones who ask bigger questions, read deeper books, speak fewer excuses, because when you're around trained minds, you rise without forcing it. Discipline becomes normal. Hard conversations become healing. Silence becomes sacred. Standards become identity. And this doesn't mean cutting off everyone who's not like you. It means protecting your core circle, the people whose energy you breathe in daily, the ones you allow to shape your thoughts. Because growth is already hard. Don't make it harder by surrounding yourself with people who hate the version of you that's evolving. Train your mind like it's your last chance, but also surround it like it's a flame. Protect it from the winds of fear, doubt, and distraction, and fuel it with people who fan it into fire. If your circle doesn't challenge your mind, it's costing your future, and your future is far too valuable for that. If you knew this was your last chance, how would you live? Not last chance to pay your bills or reply to messages or keep up appearances, but your final shot to become the version of yourself you were born to be. Would you still be negotiating with fear? Would you still be waiting for the right mood, the right moment, the perfect timing? Would you still be scrolling through other people's lives instead of building your own? Or would you finally step into the fire? Would you finally take that risk, break that pattern, speak that truth, build that dream? The truth is, we all live like we have unlimited time. We casually say someday, we plan in tomorrow. We bury our potential under layers of distraction, doubt, and delay. But life isn't promised, and potential doesn't last forever. There will come a day when your final chance is truly final, and you won't get a warning when it arrives. This is not about fear, it's about urgency. When you train your mind like it's your last chance, you stop wasting hours. You stop tolerating weakness in yourself. You stop playing small for the comfort of others. You stop making decisions that protect your present but poison your future. You begin to act like time matters, like your gifts matter, like the future version of you is watching every move and asking, will you fight for me, or will you settle for less again? This mindset doesn't just change how you act, it changes who you are. You become more decisive, more alert, more dangerous, because now every rep counts, every word matters, every breath is chosen. You live like a builder, a warrior, a leader, and suddenly the world around you shifts. Opportunities move toward you. People respect you differently. Discipline no longer feels like sacrifice, it feels like identity. Every action becomes a seed. Every thought becomes a weapon. Every day becomes a battlefield you are not afraid to enter. So stop waiting to feel ready. You're not here to feel. You're here to become. This is your final shot mindset. This is the flame that burns all excuses. This is the moment you stop living like you're rehearsing for a life you never fully step into. One day, your last chance will come. But today is not that day. Today, you train like it is. And when you live that way long enough, you won't just change your life, you'll change who you are in this life. And because the person who acts like it's their final shot becomes the one the world can't ignore. You don't get unlimited chances, you get this one. So train your mind like everything depends on it, because it does. And if you felt the fire in today's video, then don't miss the next one, how to become the person you pretend to be online. We're going to strip away the masks and build the real you from the inside out. Until then, don't wait. Train, evolve, lead.